Right, well, welcome back to Salt and Light Wealth Podcast. Today I'm with Shawn Whitson, founder and CEO of a revolutionary social platform, Axe Social. Now, some quick background. Shawn didn't go looking for this opportunity. He was minding his own business, running a tech company when God interrupted his morning prayer time with this specific assignment. Now, in case you aren't familiar, Axe Social is a faith-first alternative to the likes of Facebook and Insta. Shawn, thanks for being here, mate.
Thank you, Brother Matt. It is quite the blessing to be on your show today, sir.
Yeah, it was great to have you. So, I want to start before Axe Social existed at all. Can you take me back to that morning in your bedroom when you had that God encounter back in, what was it, December 2022? What
Mm.
happened?
Wow. It was definitely I'd like to call it a pivotal point in business, but it was just one more step up in spiritual maturity of learning how to quietly and humbly listen to to the Holy Spirit. So I guess it was two different things on that morning, man. Um, I will say that leading up to that morning, if you want the backstory, I was just kind of really dissatisfied. So I've been a serial entrepreneur all my life, unfortunately. Sharee and I, my wife and I, have been married a little right at 30 years now. And I've always done startups, sell-offs, some failures, some successes, things like that in business. I haven't worked for anyone since I was 19 years old, technically. With that said, I was not happy with this tech company. It was certainly not going to be any kind of large acquisition. There was no sell off. A lot of months it broke even. Some months it did awesome. Some months it was a ouch. I had already been going to the father on what should be done about this. And I will tell you something that I guess is okay to be out there. When I was a little kid, I heard a story that impacted me of an old man in our little tiny Texas town community that had had enough with smoking. It was killing him. He could not recover from it. He was going downhill and up in his age already. He took all his clothes off, got down on the floor in his house by himself, and just spilled his heart to God, saying, I give up. There is no more of me trying to kill this out. I'm going to have to give it to you. And
Wow.
what spoke to me as a little kid about that story in a good way is the cigarette went out halfway in the ashtray. And he kept that ashtray with that cigarette in the house because he felt like it was a sign from God. The cigarette just went out and
Wow.
he lost his cravings and things like that. So fast forward a little bit, we were struggling as a company, and that irks me to no end because I've had lots of good failures in businesses enough to know, ouch, don't do that again. So
Mhm.
I should be smart enough to make this company work. And it just wasn't working, Matt. I had investors in those days, still do to this day. I had investors, a lot of them very close, and the thought of not being a success like what they in their eyes probably looked at me for from all the startups they saw me do over the decades. Man, I just had the same thing. I remember that story of the old man. Um, this is probably TMI for a podcast, but I was about to get in the shower and I thought, it's time to just give it to God. Here I am,
Yep.
right here.
Come on.
No one obviously in the area got down on my knees and said, I have been a fool all these years by if it's meant to be, it's up to me
Mm.
lie that is told to a lot of entrepreneurs who are just go gangbusters for things. And it's just not the truth, man. You're just riding on your own little God you've created when you do stuff like that. And I
That's right.
realized it. And I thought, I can't do this. If this is to be done, I need you to guide me and I need you to take it over. I release all relinquish CEO responsibilities to you and I will quietly listen. And
Wow.
nothing happened. Nothing happened for, I guess, I don't know exactly. I think it was about 4 to 6 weeks ish area. So now
Mhm.
up to December of 2022, your question, Sharee and I have always known that getting up in the morning and going straight into emails and stuff like that is not a good way to start your spiritual brain off in the morning.
Mhm.
So we always do a daily devotional on YouVersion. We do that before we pick up our phones and things like that. And then we have our prayer time and things like that. Well, in this morning in December, it was the same. Sharee jumped up out of bed. I didn't have any early morning meetings or anything. She went off to go get ready in the bathroom for the day, and I just quietly went back to God, Matt, and I said, I'm just going to bring this to you yet again. I don't know what the deal is. You got to listen to it, Lord. I'm being funny about that, but that's kind of how you feel sometimes because his little while is not our little while on
Mm.
answers. His timeline is much different, and he is in charge if we allow that to happen. And so I've had what I like to describe as promptings from the Holy Spirit before.
Yeah.
I'm not a prophet by no means, nothing like that, but I do. The more spiritually mature I get, and the more quiet and humbling I allow myself to get, and try to quietly listen, I do hear more, and I'm getting a little better at that. This was not one of those promptings. This was a loud voice that never spoke, that stood the hair up all over my body. It was like a gut punch, not a nudge. And it
Yeah.
was super clear. It was, take your team. We have a great, talented team. He says, take your team, build a social media platform to glorify my kingdom worldwide. And what's
Wow.
funny about that is, Matt, is I am not a social media person. I deleted my social media long ago. I keep my LinkedIn just for stuff, but it's still kind of junky. So I'm not a social media person. Can't stand it. If you tell me you're gonna having a hamburger or you're about to jump in the shower on your social post, you kind of wasted my day. So I didn't see any use in social. It kind of gets under my skin.
Mm.
So why he asked me to build social media, I don't know. I guess he'll qualify the called is what that goes to. So right then, I told my team, I told them, and it was a hard conversation. Told the team, I said, look, you guys, I'm up front with you. Some months are tight, some months are great, but we're going to stop all new incoming clients. Hmm.
Mm.
We're going to follow God's call because we can't do both. We can't keep building for
Yeah.
clients and do what God said to do. And
Yeah.
we also can't do it cheesy, man. If, I mean, how horrible would it be of me to end up at the pearly gates at Judgment Day and to say, okay, Lord, in 2 months, we built this on WordPress and it looks like an old Craigslist website, if you know the United States, for
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
garage sale websites. It's terrible, terrible. So I couldn't do that because I have to answer for this. So I took the command very seriously.
Yeah.
We raised some money, and the bulk of it came from selling a couple of homes. We have downsized
Okay.
twice now over the last 3 years,
Yeah.
and to get this funded. And we just launched to the public 5 weeks ago, live to the
Wow.
public. And we've
Okay.
already got several thousand users, and it's been a blessing because he's the CEO, not me. And I'm still working on that, by the way. I don't have that perfected. But yeah, sorry, I vomited a bunch of information on you there. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's
that's
beautiful. Yeah, great. Thank you. And I think do you have a memento of that moment that you sort of refer back to? Like the
I
ashtray,
have
the guy with
a
the ashtray.
exactly, exactly. I have the burned out account. Does the checking account matter? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
but uh,
Yeah. It's
but
real,
yeah,
it's
I don't
raw,
have an
right? Yeah.
exact momentum, but it's
Yeah.
still to this day trying to explain it.
Mm.
Every time I try to explain it, man, I just can't explain it. Like there's no words
Yeah.
that talk about the warmth and the peace that comes
Mm.
over you. And the fear is there too. The
Come on.
hair is standing up on the body, but you're not scared. But fear, I just can't put it all into words, man. It's
Yeah.
way more than just a light prompting of, sometimes you get a prompting from the Holy Spirit and you're like, okay, Lord. And then like the devil comes in, spiritual warfare, and says, no, that was your brain, Sean. That wasn't the Holy Spirit. You know, did God really say don't eat the apple? So I'm being
Yeah,
funny
yeah.
there. But
Yeah.
but yeah, but this was different. So yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool. I love that. And if we can like just go back a little bit further,
Sure.
because you mentioned your story there with you've got a tech company as well, and you've God's
Mhm.
already got you on a journey, and you've been doing business a long time. So I love
Mhm.
the fact that even part of your story is like God tells you to start a social media company, and you detest social media. So
Yeah.
so which I love it because it's like, oh no, God, this has to be
Yeah,
God
I
because if
know.
I loved it, it would be like, yeah. So
I
I,
know.
I love
So
I
true.
love the inexcusable knowing that that's God's voice. But let's go back a bit
Mhm.
further because I know this isn't random. So before any of this, you spent years. but I know in your sort of testimony, read up a bit about you, is you called
Yeah,
yourself a bit of a screw up. So
true.
you,
It's
why,
true.
why is that? Why is that?
I think it's because I go back to that if it's up to me, if it's
Mm,
meant to be, it's up to me statement.
yeah,
And that is burned in a lot of young entrepreneurs' minds. Like,
yeah,
if you'll get in there and you will apply everything, in other words, you, do, then you'll make it. And I can't say it's a complete lie because you can survive like that for a little while, but you will eventually crash if you completely
mhm.
leave God out of the equation. And man, I'll say, my wife, I kind of drive her crazy with the entrepreneur thing because I will jump off a cliff and build a plane on the way down. So that's my theology. That's the gung-ho-ness of it. And sometimes it's hard to put God into that. So yeah, with that, man, I am I am a very imperfect Christian. I struggle with sin, especially in the younger years. I was a wild child. I spent lots of time in school suspensions and getting spankings all the time, and I have an authority issue. I don't like being told what to do. So yeah, I am a horrible example of someone to be a calling for him, and build a social media platform that is really meant to take on the big tech giants and their sliminess.
I think you're perfect for it. Yeah, it's a very
Uh,
typical entrepreneur. Build the plane as you fly it. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
haven't heard
yeah,
that one
it's
before.
true.
Jump off the cliff and build the plane on the way down. That's
That's right.
taking in risk to another level, isn't it?
It is. It is. It is. It is. It gets things done, but you either crash really hard or you have huge successes with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And how's your relationship with God grown over your time in entrepreneurship? I know there's the seen this happen just in my own journey of back years ago it was the only sort of form of ministry that was recognizable was the platform. If you had the pulpit, if you had the microphone, well, that was the pinnacle of ministry. But seeing that pendulum now shift away
Mm,
from that, but to be more like, oh no, hang on, everyone is a minister of the gospel. Only some
yeah,
have pulpits, some have the
it's true.
microphone. So I guess love to hear a little bit of that journey in you because I can just see
Mhm.
that, the presence of God's is oozing all around you,
Oh,
and you
well,
knowing
thank
that
you. Thank you. Yeah.
your where you work is a place of ministry. So
Mm.
love for your thoughts on that, mate.
Well, first of all, I'll start off by saying that I have had a blast being in ministry, and it did take a little bit of those little elevator conversations when someone says, "Oh, what do you do?" And for all this time, I'm saying, "Well, I've done this and I do this, or I'm currently doing this." But to say, "Well, I have a tech company, but technically we're in ministry. Our job here is to spread the gospel, and we use a social platform to do it."
Great.
And that
Yeah.
is a really weird elevator pitch. But man, dealing with the people in the ministry have been awesome. But back to your question, I would praise the the mistakes and the failures of the companies as something that God allowed me to go through to build character and
Mm.
to bust up some of my authority issues on that, possibly amongst many other flaws that I personally have. And that this would be a very long podcast if we went into all those. So I would say definitely going through the failed companies, laying off hundreds of people over, you can
Mm.
imagine decades of business. Stuff happens. Stuff
Yeah.
happens, all the time. You have layoffs, which are humiliating. You have lost client deals, which are humiliating. You have employee screw ups, of which maybe you end up being responsible ultimately for, even though you didn't do it, and you just got to brunt the force of it. So I believe God has allowed me to go through those successes and especially those failures because He was truly building me for something that was going to take some grit on this. And I think he uses some of my flaws, like the authority issue. I hate being told no. It gets under my skin and will keep me up if someone says no, or more specifically, can't be done, type of no's that are out there. And man, yeah, I've been there. Yeah, so I think he uses some of those pieces and my upbringing because during building this, man, we faced so much spiritual warfare. I've got a book coming out and it's packed with the spiritual warfare, a lot of it of just what's happened in the last 3.5 years of building this to release it to the public just last
Yeah.
month. For instance, there has not been a week go by in the last 18 months that the platform has not been attacked from another country, a small handful of countries, and 100% of those countries are Muslim countries. Some of them were bold enough
Mm,
to put their Allah things in their profile pictures when attacking the platform on the front and back side. So
wow.
that's one example. We've ran out of money a couple of times. I've sold a couple of homes. Sharee and I have downsized a couple of times
Yeah.
already and pumped the money back into the company and
Yeah.
the smart people out there will say, well, Shawn, you've got to have a exit plan. You've got to have a business plan. And yeah, there's truth to that. But this is a unique company because God told me to build it. He didn't tell me to run it for the rest of my life. He told me to
Mm,
build it and build it right. So it has to
yeah.
be on the latest, greatest technology, and we call UI, UX for the users out there. So I
Yeah.
have done that part. And to be honest, I'm waiting on his next command because the common business expert out there will say, well, you should have raised money. Well, I don't know. I think God has blessed us with the homes. We don't have multiple homes, but as we would downsize, we would take that equity and pump back in,
Yeah.
and God has blessed us with 7 digits of things there to be able to pump back into the company.
Yeah.
And I think that, yeah, I think we will raise money at some point now that we've proven people are hungry for it, with them coming
Yeah.
in by the droves. But it's not the traditional way to go about it that I've been trained inside because
Yeah.
God's the CEO, not me, for the first time ever in
Come
my
on.
life, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Full release.
Yeah, that's cool. And I love that. And if you can go a little bit more, like what's that internal transformation been like with you, like in the process of building this?
Yeah. Well, a lot of humbling moments. A lot of humbling moments. There has been some situations where I had to go about things in a non-traditional sense, from hiring some of our employees, and there's been a lot of non-traditional things of the company startup that have came along. To be honest with you, I can't think of all the pieces right now, but the way we've been about this was, gosh, Matt, it's a lot like we jumped off the cliff with God's direction and said, I'll help you build the plane on the way down. That really sums up a lot of it. It really does. I'm going to go back to that comment. I didn't mean to say that, but that really does work. So
No parachute, no parachute either.
no parachute. There's no parachute here whatsoever. Yeah. Yeah.
So I love this. So now 30 years married to Sharee.
hmm Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 30 years.
And
We have 3 kids and 4 grandkids. Yeah.
wow, come on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I know when, I'd love to know. I don't know. She's not on the podcast now, but you can speak on her behalf. I think she wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Uh, what's that been like? Your assignment. What's that been like? But it's both of you. As a
hmm
couple, like what are the things that people don't see? In
mm
in this dynamic. I love the fact that you do devotions together. And my wife and I every morning
mm
we sit down and have a coffee and talk about the dreams that we
Awesome.
had last night and pray
Yes.
together and
Yes. Yes.
believe together and
Yes.
get on the same page. But I guess what's this journey been like with your relationship with your lovely wife?
So Sheree and I, first of all, to lay the groundwork, we're best friends. She works from home on the other side of the house, as well. I'm at home right now. A tech company, you can do that. So you can pull that off, as you know.
Yeah.
But but we're best friends. We spend lots of waking moments together, I'll say. So we have a good foundation, and God allowed us to go through lots of honeymoon learning years as we put things together in the first few years of our marriage. So we've got that behind us. But to say this, Sharee is not a risk taker.
Hmm.
I think a lot of females have similar comforts and stabilities of, a female can feel very comfortable if there's enough money in the bank to pay bills
Hmm.
and the homestead feels safe. There's some safety things, and not that she is. I think she's probably closer to in her walk with God because she is a more of a submissive female uh than than myself being a get it done, grind it into my bones. They're there
Yeah.
that I'm working on overcoming. Sheree doesn't even start with that. So I think that she can in many ways be closer to the spirit. So I'm not saying that she doesn't rely on God for 100%. What I'm saying is that uh, not selling homes and not running low on accounts at tight
Yeah.
times has probably been some of her hard. That's been her version of spiritual warfare. She
Yeah.
sees things, she wears her feelings on her shoulders. So when she sees anything inside Act Social, I don't know if I know you've seen this. You're one of our good users there. I see you in, but there's the prayer request and the posts that come over. Some of them
Mhm.
are raw and real, what people are asking for prayer on.
Yeah.
And Cherie loves seeing that. But
Yeah.
anytime there's anything that's not just right, it bothers her. If stability is a part of that, then that has been shaken up in every way over the last 3.5 years, especially to get this done. But she's of course on board 1,000%. When I told her about the dream in December of 2022, or I'm sorry, the encounter in 2022,
Yeah.
I did that a few days later, by the way, because I didn't know exactly how I was going to phrase that to her.
Yeah.
But she didn't flinch. She said, "Do it. If he told you to do it, then if you don't do it, you're going to have, some terrible things to answer for one day at the gates." And that's a horrible feeling if it did not get done and didn't get done right, I repeat. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's been her battle, is the hard times I've gone through and put our family through to get this done
Yeah.
has affected her.
Yeah. And I love the fact that she's with you. Yeah, she's still
Oh
there.
yes.
You know?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
In the trenches is like hallelujah and pass the ammo. So
Yes, absolutely. Now, there might have been times she wanted to chase me with a spatula, but she did not. She refrained and she was on board.
that's really good. That's really good. So, Sean, I'd love to know a bit more about your book. Like, is it out now or is it going to come out?
It's not. It just finished its editorial phase. So
Okay. Okay.
this is the first book I've ever written.
Yep.
So take that with a grain of salt when you read it. But we think it will be late fall, early winter, maybe December, November-ish area if they can really get pushed out.
Okay.
It's Called Out of Nowhere.
Yep.
I am a Texas country kid at heart. I grew up
Yep.
on a ranch setting, tending to the animals and the gardens. And I was your typical country kid with country kid friends, and was unfortunately very wild and a very colored past of lots of trouble to get into. And then it goes through the journey of my entrepreneurial things of doing business startups, the
Yep.
failures that brought crashing down, and the successes that were really great and taught me almost as much as the failures did. And then leading all the way up to when God called me to do this. And that's a fast book arc there, but that's what it is, called out of nowhere.
Called out of nowhere, and it'll be, I imagine, on Amazon and all the book
It
places you can
will.
get. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, cool.
Yeah, that is
That
correct. Yeah, that is
that's
correct.
great.
Thank
That's
you.
great. So
Thank you.
I'll keep an eye out for that. And so, one last question before we close off. When it comes to Act Social, what's been like your biggest God moment in seeing all this, going out and growing. Because a lot of times you can look at business and you go, oh, we measure success by the growth or the size of your bank account, or which
Yeah, yeah,
they are success metrics, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess with Act Social, that's a little bit different. It's not
Hmm.
exactly not everything's monetizable.
Correct.
And then how do you integrate that community and the success that comes in that space? How do you bring that into a recognizable format and seeing God weave his work through the whole
Mm,
process? What's been those
sure.
moments, if you can give us a insight into that?
You bet. So one of the things we wanted to make sure, so I guess I had to search inside of why do I strongly dislike social media myself, and I think it's a lot of the rage bait and the doom scroll stuff that you can easily, if you're weak at heart, you get lost into. And
Yeah.
no matter how strong you think you are, when you absorb yourself in traditional social media and you just scroll, scroll, rage, 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 and all the negatives to it, uh, unfortunately, your soul absorbs that like a sponge. There's no
Yeah.
other, no, no one but Jesus himself could defend those flaming arrows, from
Mm.
the enemy. And it's really in that search that I found that I don't like social media. So let's build a social platform for all the reasons I can't stand it. So basically, we studied Facebook and TikTok were the two most prominent, most addictive algorithms out there. Insta's not too bad, but they have little traces that the others dominate on big time. And we studied those algorithms and what did it. And the team, I have a great tech team. We're a team of 18 of us that do that. And they took the Facebook and TikTok algorithms, which had strong similarities to each other, believe it or not, and we
Yeah.
flipped them on their head completely upside
Wow.
down. So we run an inverted algorithm. Uh, if you try to put someone down, or you're discouraging, or you're bullying, or you try to post violent images, if you even upload something that's obviously nudity's out or anything, but if you even upload something that, excuse my language here, but like too much cleavage in it,
Yeah. Yeah.
algorithms pick up on that and suppress you. But the
Hmm.
more you uplift people, and the more gratitude you express publicly in your post, and the more you pour your heart out in a positive way, those posts go viral. And to tell you the truth, it confuses the heck out of people coming onto the platform.
Yeah.
We've actually had complaints like, "Are you hiding my post?" And we'll go back and we're look and we're like, kind of, yeah. The
At least you're
algorithm
honest about
actually,
it.
yeah, actually, the algorithm picked up on you calling such and such in the platform, that is the dumb decision. And because you said that, no one's responding to your post. You're used to it. Your brain is fed
Mm.
that post should have gained traction, and our algorithm suppresses it, and it's the other way around. So it has confused some people. The people who we see, no, we don't see it. It's completely up to God. But the people that we have a hunch are probably the closest to their walk in God are appreciating the algorithms more than the people that are there to stir things up and test the algorithm out. And I'll tell
Very
you
good.
a kind of cool. So we didn't know how that was going to work, to be honest with you. We had no real test, but I'll tell you, just before we released the platform, we had been doing some testings. We had a group of testers and things, and those testers could refer some other people, and that was awesome. That gave us great feedback for what you see now with the user interface. It was the night before we launched, sorry, 2 nights before we launched. Sheree's a registered nurse here in the States, obviously, and she was doing some continuing education courses and things. And I was flipping through the TV, which doesn't happen for her and I just a whole lot, but I had nothing else to do. And I was like, how weird would it be to sit down and watch a movie? So I was flipping through, and she had her laptop over there, and she was going through her stuff. And I saw the old Jim Caviezel, is that how you say his name? The old Passion of the Christ movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness, I haven't watched that in, oh, I can't even believe how the picture looks, like VHS style picture. I
Yeah.
just couldn't believe how many years it had been. And I thought, this is interesting. I turned it on. Sharee is not the kind that likes any kind of suffering or anything like that. So she went off to the bedroom with her laptop, and I just continued watching the movie. That night was one of our hardest attacks from the enemy on the platform. They almost
Mm.
infiltrated and pulled it down that night. And
Wow.
did you know that it was right around the same time that you get that creepy scene on the movie of where it kind of seems like Satan holding the baby, walking through the crowd, watching Jesus being punished.
Yep. Yeah.
How odd is that? So
Wow.
it still sends shivers down my spine to even talk about it.
Wow.
And anyway, we started getting messages. My phone started going off saying, user attack, user attack, user attack. That's our thing. The team
Yeah.
was already up and on it. As soon as I messaged them, like, we got it, we're on it. Here we see what they've done here, fixed it
Yeah.
immediately. 2 days later, we launch. And one of our test users, I'm pretty sure she was a test user. Her name was Tamara. She's in the book, and she posted on there about losing her mom, going through COVID. Their
Mm.
church kind of stopped meeting because it was small enough to have suffered the COVID, epidemic, and it really had
Yeah.
trouble recovering. She had lost a lot of community. She came on to the app and made one comment that said, "For the first time in a long time, I feel like someone hears me."
Yeah.
On
Wow.
there. And I think that in the stark contrast of enemy warfare
Yeah.
was what I considered a win for the Lord of spreading his gospel worldwide using a
Yeah.
social platform, no matter how much pushback we get along the
Yeah.
way. So
Yeah.
that was a defining moment.
Yeah. Wow. And on the platform itself, any aspects of God's goodness you've seen happen? I love to hear, just some quick testimonies of, people interacting and using the platform.
You bet. Yeah. So we were quite surprised to see the prayer request explode like they did.
Okay.
To date, so we released the prayer request just about, don't quote me exactly on this, but I think 3.5, 4 weeks ago of our 5 or 6 weeks launch. I got to look back at the calendar at the time. It's been chaos the last few weeks for me. Uh, but we didn't release right away with the prayer request stuff. And man, the prayer request stuff now outnumbers the gratitude posts in there.
Wow.
It just took off. It just exploded out. We went to a little over 7,000 users in just days. It just took off out of nowhere. So, yeah, God is definitely opening the door. My email blows up. I've never really I've done a lot of launches of companies in the past. I've never done one to where, um, the fruit of the harvest came so quick and fast that it was hard to keep up with. Usually I had to like work and peck away at it.
Yeah.
And I just contribute that to it's all God. It's nothing I've done. It's all
Yeah.
God. So there's a lot of pieces inside the platform that have that help reward me. I don't want to say I'm proud of something, because pride's not a good factor, but I am very happy with what God is doing with the platform. I'll put it
Yeah.
that way. And I see
Yeah.
proof
Cool.
of it in tons of user posts and new people coming in and just making comments
Yeah.
inside there. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, Shawn, thank you so much, mate. It's been an honor to get to have this time together. And one, I want to honor you for, one, being obedient to to the
Thank you.
craziness of God's assignment
Mhm.
and going after it and, putting, even the pain of having to sell houses, not just
Mhm.
once, but a few times, and
Mhm.
walking through the uncertainty of, hey God, we're trusting you in this, and this is scary. Jumping
Mhm.
off that cliff, and we've got to build a plane now.
That's correct.
So,
Yeah, that's stuck. It's true.
that's stuff. So, I really honor you for willingness to pursue that, because what that does is give permission for other entrepreneurs to, hey God, what now? I want that invitation to accept the assignment and go after it, because
Mhm.
you don't know what is on beyond that, of that
It's
acceptance,
true.
and it's a roller coaster, but you wouldn't have it
Mhm.
any other way. So
That's correct.
again, for those listening, if this has stirred something and you go check out, sign up to Act Social for yourself at actsocial.com, and obviously keep an eye out for Shawn's book called Out of Nowhere, coming later
Thank you.
this year.
Mhm.
And until next time, keep walking by faith.
Thank you, brother.